homies, my homosexuals. Pop in, sit down, come give me your attention, because I need it. I'm a little attention hog today. I feel so good. It's so nice to be able to come to this gym, do the program, do the weights, do the lifts, do that good technique, that good explosiveness, and then not have to worry about feeling like garbage. There's very little days now, ever since I got my program figured out, got my rest days figured out, really managing my fatigue to the best of my ability, to where I don't have to worry about not being good, energy-wise. Whether that's mental or physical, everything is moving the way that I want it to now, And yeah, I got to adhere to my body and my mind. That's how it works. But it's one of those good moments in a program where I'm in between. I just got out of plateau. I'm definitely not plateaued right now. I'm the most peaked I've ever been to add weight, but I cannot rush that. The moment you rush it, when you finally get that glimpse of progression, if you go too quickly, you're going to plateau instantaneously all over again. Then you have to redo everything from the ground up, because you got to really use and abuse that good program while it's going to work, because the progress never always lasts. Never. You're going to hit a wall at some point. And yeah, you could run the same program forever and then eventually make progress, but that's not how you grow. You adapt to what your body needs in your current situation. That's why I'm taking an extra active rest day. That's why I'm utilizing the progressive overload to not go too heavy all the time like I typically do, but then still having a little bit of fun on my accessory technique Olympic days to balance it all out. Get enough passion in while also focusing on the technique rather than my big old muscles, and just taking my time, being patient, letting it come to me instead of forcing it all the time, And it's very, very nice to be able to just shoot the shit, have a good time, throw a heavy weight, and then be like, that's the workout. I always say you should be able to leave the gym wanting to come back the next day with just as much energy, Because if you can't come back the next day and put that much intensity back into it the way that you want to, then your program is either too hard, or you might just want to train at a less efficient, more limited rate. And that's fine. You're still going to be strong. You just might not make that long-term progress at the rate that you want it to, And as long as you're okay with that, and do whatever you want. But I want to make my progress happen now. I want it to come when it wants to, but I can set up my program to have the best opportunity to grow possible, right? One of the biggest things that I've been really focusing on that's been very, very helpful, that I really want to focus more on the snatch right now, because the cleans are actually really primed. This is the most primed my core has felt in a long time. And one of the biggest limiting factors when it comes to having good technique in either the snatch or the clean is being able to put your core and your hips into the catch position first, as fast as possible, without breaking down the technique. Being able to pull that bar as high as you can in that perfect vertical third pull, but the moment it's as high as it's going to go for what you need it to in that rep, you dive underneath. It's not okay, we're just going to sit down. No, you dive under that barbell, and you hold the position as tight as you can, so that when it lands on you, you have that perfect positioning and that immediate explosion back up. Nothing stopping you. I hate seeing people like snatches. I get it, but especially in a clean, you should never have to sit and pause a clean at the bottom of the catch. I get it when people do a little bounce or two out of the catch, but if you catch a clean, and I've done this too, this is back when my technique was way less efficient, my core was broken down all the time, I would catch a clean and I would sit in the bottom because I caught it way too far forward, my core wasn't strong enough to just bounce right out of it. You should be able to come right back out, because you need that strength in your core to do a proper dip and drive into the split jerk. Some of them today, I felt like I was almost overdoing it, because it's rare that this happens to me, but I'm finally getting to that point where I can have such a consistent dip and drive that truly feels like the initial part of a front squat, to where my elbows are locked out instantaneously, and I can actually feel that happening. Typically, the elbows lock out just in time to match with the feet, hitting the ground. And that's how it's supposed to be. But if you can lock your elbows out right before your feet hit and confidently know it's there. You don't want to do it like super early or anything, because then you're going to land super imbalanced. You're going to crash a little bit. But it's nice to have that mind-muscle connection of just knowing the lockout is there and being able to hold it through as strong as you want without having to be pushed down or pushed forward or restabilized, whatever. Most of the reps today felt amazing. And that's what you want every single day. Got it to a 285 double on clean and jerks. That's part of the progressive overload. Next week, we're going to 315 for a single, and that's going to be our first step of progression toward new weight. So this is light for now, but I need to cherish it while it's there. Because let me tell you, 285 double, crazy easy today. And that's what I want. That's what it should be. But for how I was training before, how inefficient it was, I'm thankful to have this much strength left over now. You know, I'm building it back up in a positive way. And, you know, you'll see when you get there, but I do the first rep, nothing. Easy, maybe just a slight lean forward, not a big deal, restabilized right away, awesome. I set up for the second attempt, you know, that second rep. And the moment I'm starting to set up, I hear the music blow out, and I'm like, fuck. I already know the video's over. I already know it. I already know it. Stopped playing the video. And I'm like, you can't really look at that as a thing to fuck yourself up in the middle of a rep. You know, you can't let that get to you, because we are not here for the recording. We're here to put in the work the way that you would want to do it any other day, regardless if you had anything, any people, any recording, any equipment, whatever. You want the reps to be as good and as consistent and strong and as confident as you do every single time. So I'm not going to just unset up the clean and then go turn on the video again and then reset up again and ruin the tempo of the set. I'm going to jump right into that next rep and own it, because that's what I'm supposed to do. You know, I'm not supposed to give myself any more than a couple seconds between dropping the weight down and resetting back up. And so I got to be consistent with that, you know? And again, you really want to make sure your body's still locked in as best it can be, so that, you know, if I went over and hit record again and run back, sure, I probably would have been fine today with it being lighter. But think about a day where I'm trying to hit a PR set. I can't just like unsettle everything, unlock my core, and then just jump back in and expect to have the same energy as I did the first time. You got to lock in and never lock out the moment you get under that fucking barbell, man. And so it's really about just being able to just throw everything away. You know, the music turned off. I had no music. I had no homies around. I had no video now. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's my rep now. Because you can sit there and say, oh, well, ruined now. What a waste of a workout, whatever. Or you can sit there and say, what a good opportunity to just be better. You know, what a great time to be able to just do something in a different positive way. You know, it's a way to just step above what you typically expect, you know, because things are not going to go the way you want them to all the time. Life is crazy. Life happens at its own rate. It does not care about your feelings, and you got to be okay with that. And so when the random stuff hits out of nowhere, and especially at the top set, like, come on, man, the top set, the very last rep of the day is going to cut out. But I'm going to sit here and say, doesn't matter if you're going to sit here and say shoulda, woulda, coulda. I hate that. You don't live by I wish this happened. At the very least, one of the reps were recorded. At the very least, I know that was a good set. And at the very least, I gave it my best efforts regardless. Because it's not about having the music bumping. It's not about having all the homies screaming at you. It's not about having a video recording the evidence. It's just about you working on you. Giving yourself that opportunity to grow no matter the scenario. I don't care if I'm out, I've told you guys all the time, if I'm homeless next week, you will see me on the side of the highway using a PCP pipe or a metal pipe from a junkyard to snatch. I promise. Because I love it. I just want to do it. It doesn't matter the scenario, the circumstance, or the gain. I just want to do it. That's it. And everything can be an opportunity to grow. You know? The front squats alone, flying. You know, I'm finally able to keep my upper back straight no matter how heavy the weight, which is nice. Of course, there's going to be some push forward whenever you get really heavy on the front squat. I went to 340 for 3 today. Killed it. Absolutely killed it. And that's a wonderful thing, because almost every set before that, maybe not 315 as much, but almost every set was so fast. I finally have my core locked in and conditioned to just bounce under the fucking barbell, man. And that's what you want. You want to have that explosiveness, that confidence, that lack of hesitation, you know? And so for it to only slow down in that last rep at 340, I'm very happy. Very, very happy, very prepped. My low back was definitely burnt out for the 375 double on clean pulls, but we locked in the technique either way. You know, if you're really burnt out in your CNS or your low back, just really make sure that that's the first thing you tighten and strengthen before the initial pull off the ground. Because a lot of people will just try to fully lock in technique and then will just rip as hard as they want without thinking about where to compress their body. Really tighten your low back when you're in that starting position, because it'll take over the moment you stand up. You know, your butt will go up first because your low back's not tight, and then you're gonna have to use all low back to hinge it back forward into your hips. It's just a mess. You don't want that. So I really locked it back in. I'm happy for that. Take your time to really squish that back together. You want it to compress your spine to keep it safe. You know, kind of like how you compress your quad muscles around your tendon to keep them from ripping, like I have. Same thing with your spine. You want to make sure that everything is as tight and as confident as it can be before you get under it. But the biggest thing, man, is so often people will get into a rut. People will get dragged through the mud. People will hit a rock bottom, let's say. And I say it all the time. It is not what you go through that is important. It is how you carry yourself getting out of it. How you drag yourself out of that mud and try to do better. Because if you're going to sit there and victimize yourself, it's important to recognize when you've been wronged, when you've gone through something traumatic. Very important to recognize that. Get your initial rants out. Let the emotions flow when you need to. But there needs to be a productive afterthought, man. You can't rant forever. There's got to be a light at the end of the tunnel. There's got to be an after to the shit that you're going through. You know, it can't just end there. Because if you're breathing, you're okay. You have a chance, you know? And if you're going to sit there and say that it's ruined or whatever you're doing in life is fucked up because of one setback that seems insurmountable, but you're breathing and you are living, then you're just wasting an opportunity, you know? Being honest, I've had a family member go to jail recently. It's really hard. You hate this. It's horrible to see in anyone. And however horrible it might be, they can either sit there and say, I've been wrong, this is a lack of justice, whatever, or they can say, okay, I'm here for a reason, you know? This might not have been fair to the highest extent. This might not have initially been my fault or whatever, but I'm here now. You know, I tell my kids in the psych unit all the time, my patients, all the time, because they really don't understand it. And I tell them, I know you don't want to be here. I know this isn't where you expected yourself to be, and I know that it's not fair that you're here. But you're here. That's already happened. It's in the past. You're here now. So you can either make the best of your opportunity, talk with people, express yourself, better yourself. Especially when you're locked up in a place like that, it's the one chance you have to have no obligation, no responsibility, no one standing over you. It's just you and your thoughts and how well you can try to reconcile with yourself to overcome your lifelong troubles, you know? And it's the same with everything, man. Even if it seems so insignificant and just like a daily little negative stress or whatever, you've got to be able to overcome everything in the moment. Not just later because it doesn't matter as much, but in that moment. You have to express yourself. You have to rant it out, and you have to productively and positively push yourself beyond those rantings, beyond those traumatic events or those setbacks. Because that's what makes the difference between someone who just is coasting through life and doesn't give a fuck versus somebody who actually wants to care and give a damn about what they're doing. And the people who are, I tell you guys all the time, no matter the program, you could have the perfect, most elegant, statistically probable program ever, written by an Olympian, a professional coach, whatever. And somebody who comes to the gym and does that program but doesn't care and is doing it out of obligation for their health or whatever, somebody told them to do it, versus someone coming in and doing whatever they want, but they're as passionate as can be. The passion will always beat the obligation. Always. And if the person on the better program is winning, it just means they're getting more and more passionate by the day. And I truly believe that. Passion makes the person. Not obligation, not responsibility, but the passion and the attendance you put toward yourself in life. Taking charge of what you can control. And the only thing you can control is how you react to your own life, you know? So depend on people how you want, or express yourself how you need to, overcome it the way that you deem fit for you. But commit to your own life, damn it. Come on. That's what it's all about, man. Physically, I'm tired. Not going to lie to you. I'm tired, but it was a really good day. Really good technique. Really good explosiveness. I'm really, really fired up. Peak week next week's going to go crazy. It's not going to be super consistent. I'm traveling a lot next week because I'm actually graduating college next week, which is awesome. But halfway through the peak week, there might be an extra rest day out of nowhere. But one way or another, it'll still give me ample time to recover the way that I need to, you know? And that's what's important. So we will get there. You know, it's going to go well, and I'm proud of the effort one way or another, regardless of how tired I am. For me to be this peaked and this ready to add on weight today, not just at the end of this program, today I'm ready to add weight. That's amazing. To be peaked before you hit a peak week is an incredible feat. So, got to give it a solid 9.15. 9.15. Really solid, but not insanely crazy, you know? The clean and jerks blew out of the water. The front squats, little slow at the end, but blew out of the water. Did great. Clean pulls took me out. Clean pulls really took me out. Low back was fried, and I was whipping a little too hard on some of the initial warm-ups, but we brought it back, and that's what matters. You know, we locked that technique back in. We got over the lack of energy. We pushed through with our mental and fortified the muscles that were lacking in the moment. That's what matters. But, man, mentally, dude, I'll give it a solid 9.5 right in the middle. It's a great time. Not just a great day, not just a great workout, but a great life. You know, I'm thankful. I've been through my own shit. I've rudimented and dragged myself through the mud with my own shit, especially recently, but I'm working out of it. I'm working really, really positively toward a better end goal, you know? I'm trying to fortify my mindset every day. And being able to have the people around me, the weights that I'm lifting, the opportunity alone to just be passionate, the way that I want to be passionate, I can't be upset, you know? I got the most loving partner I could ask for at home. Got the most loving family waiting for me at my other home. I got places to be welcomed, and that alone trumps anything, you know? If I lost weightlifting and physically couldn't, like if I got put in a wheelchair next week, I got family, man. I got people that love me, and that's what matters. And so even if I'm in a wheelchair, man, if I got the support and I'm surrounding myself with the people in the positive environment that uplifts me, truly, brother, you'll see me in there Olympic lifting in a wheelchair. I'll figure it out one way or another. It'd be a no leg clean. But shit, I'd try my damn hardest. It'd be funny to see me reverse curl 225. But anyway, that's all I got. I got to go to work, but good news. Got a promotion at work. We're moving on to day shift. I won't have to stay up all night anymore. So we actually might not need the active rest days in the future. And if I get this 9 to 5 schedule like I want to, where it's a bit easier and on my recovery and my sleep time, then I'll probably go back to just 3 on 1 off. But on my 1 off, I'll still go to the gym. But and I'll do my active recovery, because the active recovery has actually been very beneficial. And I'm realizing that having the full rest day where I do absolutely zero nothing is the reason why I come back the next day feeling so immobile and so stiff. So I'll try it out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. The 3 on 2 off is still great, you know. So I'm not gonna force anything that doesn't feel good, and I'm just gonna keep running it as passionately as I can. So I appreciate y'all hearing me out. As always, let me know what listen lives I'm going. You know I love hearing about it. And I will be back tomorrow for a snatch technique accessory and heavy squat. We'll do 420 for 3 again. And also, if any of you want to give me a suggestion for a technique day, I'm always looking for new suggestions on what to do. I come up with them on the spot half the time, doing my up, down, back, down, pause, reverse, hang clean, hang snatch, power snatch. You know, I'm trying to come up with any combination of a complex that I can. So if you got suggestions, let me know, because that'd be really cool to get that from you guys to get the passion going again with something that I've never done before. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for hearing me out, and I love you guys. See you later. Bye.